Hey yo, it's Strange here, your boy from Dirty Hollywood, the one channel where we don't just scratch the surface of this twisted town, we dig 6 feet deep until the coffins crack open and all the maggots come crawling out. Picture me right now, leaned back in this creaky leather chair in my dimly lit studio, the only light coming from a single lamp that's buzzing like it's about to short out. Shadows dancing on the walls covered with old tabloid clippings and leaked court papers. I'm staring straight at you through the camera, like we are the only two people in the room who ain't afraid to say the quiet part out loud. And man, what I'm about to lay on you tonight, it's gonna mess with your head. It's February 2026, and Britney Spears, yeah, the same Britney who once had every teenager on the planet mimicking that schoolgirl outfit and those pigtails, she drops this Instagram post that stops the scroll dead. Her words hit like a freight train. I'm incredibly lucky to even be alive is how my family treated me once in my life, and now I'm scared of them. Scared of your own damn blood. Right after that, she quietly signs away her entire music catalog to Primary Wave for $200 million. Insiders are whispering it's her final middle finger to the machine that tried to own her soul, correcting history one fat check at a time. But even free, even rolling in that cash, even in 2026, she swears she'll never perform in the United States again because of extremely sensitive reasons. Maybe she'll grab a stool, slap a red rose in her hair, pull it back tight in that classic bun, and sing her heart out with her son Jaden by her side somewhere in the UK or Australia real soon. God, that image hits different when you know the full nightmare she clawed her way out of. Come on, we all know the glossy comeback stories the industry peddled for years were pure bullshit. Today in Dirty Hollywood we are not doing some fluffy recap. We're reconstructing this like a goddamn crime thriller, because that's exactly what it was, a 13-year heist of one woman's life, her body, her money, her voice, her everything. I am talking leaked emails that read like a mob plot, court documents thicker than a phone book with lies stacked on lies, old interviews where the smiles never reached the eyes, whispered rumors from people still looking over their shoulders, and the filthiest, most disgusting gossip that makes you lean in closer and go, how the fuck did this even happen in America? I'm Strange, the guy who knows every skeleton the stars are desperately trying to keep locked in the closet forever. And today we're ripping the door off the hinges on the dark truth behind Britney Spears' Conservatorship, the 2026 update that shows the scars ain't healed, the ghosts are still screaming, and the family that profited might still be circling. Grab a drink, turn the lights down low and settle in, because this ain't a quick hit. We're going deep, layer by filthy layer, from the broke-ass childhood in the Louisiana swamps all the way to the mansion prisons and the courtrooms that smelled like leather chairs and broken dreams. We're talking full biographies on every player. The dad who went from bankrupt alcoholic to king of a pop empire. The mom who looked the other way. The sister who cashed in while big sis rotted. The business sharks who sucked millions out of her veins. What triggered it? Greed, pure and simple. Real motives: control the cash cow before she bolted. Who stabbed who in the back? Family first, then the enablers who got fat of her pain. Who made millions of someone else's destruction? Oh, we'll name names and follow the money trail until it leads straight to the bank accounts that stayed full while Britney begged for her own allowance. This is a story they tried to bury, but the fans, the leaks and her own voice cracked the concrete. And by the time we are done with all 4 parts of this monster, you'll never see a red carpet or a comeback queen headline the same way again. Let's get into it. To really understand how a global superstar ends up locked down like some kind of high-priced inmate in her own life, we gotta start at the very beginning, in the humid backroads of Kentwood, Louisiana, back in 1981. Imagine this tiny southern town, population maybe 2,000, where the air is thick with the smell of magnolias mixed with crawfish boils from every backyard cookout on Friday nights. The roads are dusty, the houses are modest, and everybody's business is everybody's business. That's where Britney Jean Spears comes screaming into the world on December 2nd, the second kid for Jamie Spears and Lynn Irene Bridges Spears. Now let me paint Jamie for you real clear, because his story story is the rotten root that everything else grew out of, folks. Born in 1953, the oldest boy in a family drowning in trauma. When little Jamie is just 4 years old, his baby brother Austin passes away at only 3 days old. Can you even imagine that kind of pain in a house that small? 9 years later, his mom, Emma Jean, 31 years old and crushed by grief, stands right on that same grave and puts a gun to her head. Suicide. Jamie's dead? Abusive as hell, the kind of man who ruled with belts and fists and zero mercy. Then Jamie himself, as a teenager, gets in this horrific car wreck that kills his best buddy and rips patches of hair right off his own scalp. The physical scars healed, but the rest? Nah. He grows up hard, marries Lynn in 1979, but cheats almost right away. Booze becomes his best friend, the kind of heavy drinking that leaves the house reeking of cheap whiskey some nights. Fast forward, he is filing bankruptcy right before Britney blows up in '98. People who knew the family back then, the old neighbors and church folks, who still won't talk on record but whisper off the record, say the house was a pressure cooker. Jamie was the loud enforcer, quick with the discipline, the one who laid down the law. No boys, no distractions, keep the kids perfect or pay the price. Lynn, on the other hand, was the dreamer, the pusher, the one who saw talent in little Britney from the jump. Britney singing before she can even walk proper, standing on the coffee table in their living room, belting out old country tunes, with that big voice coming out of this tiny blonde kid with the killer smile and the eyes that already look like they carried too much. By age 2, she's performing at church. By 11, she's on Star Search, getting her first taste of the spotlight, even if she doesn't win. Then the big move. The family packs up and heads to Orlando for the Mickey Mouse Club when she's 11, 1993 to 94. That's where the machine first sinks its teeth in. Picture the studios, bright lights, endless rehearsals. Kids from all over, competing like their lives depend on it, because for some of them it does. Britney meets this curly-haired kid named Justin Timberlake there, both of them wide-eyed and hungry. Puppy love starts brewing even then, but it's all wrapped up in the industry grind. The family sacrifices everything. Jamie quits construction, Lynn homeschools the kids, they scrape by on whatever Lynn's real estate gig brings in. Word from old handlers who were around back then. Jamie was always the heavy, the one making sure Britney stayed focused, no slip-ups. But behind closed doors, the rumors were there even then. Controlling, quick-tempered, the kind of dad who made sure the kids knew who was boss. Britney doesn't make the cut for the second season of the Mouse Club, but that rejection lights a fire. She heads back to Kentwood for a hot minute, but the hunger don't die. At 15 she auditions for Jive Records, like her whole future is on the line. Because it is. She nails it, singing I Have Nothing or something that shows off that voice, and boom, deal signed. They ship her to Sweden with Max Martin and the Sharon crew to record. Picture those Stockholm studios in '97. Cold outside, but the energy inside is electric. Producers tweaking beats. Britney in the booth hitting notes that make grown men stop and stare. Baby One More Time drops in '98 and the world loses its mind. Number 1 on the charts everywhere, that Catholic schoolgirl video with the tied-up shirt and the pigtails becoming the fantasy for a whole generation. She sells 30 million copies of the debut album worldwide, tours like a machine, but the pressure, Jesus Christ, it's crushing. By 2000 she is dating Justin for real, the golden couple, America's teen dream. But the media, they paint her as a slutty pop-tart, while Justin gets the sensitive artist pass every time. Come on, we all know that double standard was straight-up sexist bullshit even back then. She's selling sex and innocence at the same time, and the tabloids eat it alive. Let me slow down and reconstruct some of these early days, because the details matter, y'all. 1999, the Baby Tour, arenas packed with screaming girls, Britney in those sparkly outfits, sweat pouring down under the lights, the smell of popcorn and teenage perfume in the air. But backstage, handlers watching her every move, Jamie calling the shots on who gets close. The album sells like crazy, then Oops I Did It Again into 1,000, that red latex suit on the video, the spaceship set, another 10 million plus sold. She's on top of the world, but the cracks are showing early. Justin and her are the it couple, but the paparazzi chase them like dogs. Then 2002 hits, the breakup. Justin dumps her over text, allegedly, writes "Cry Me a River" with that video featuring a Britney look-alike getting rained on. The world calls her the cheater, the crazy one, but insiders who were around swear Justin stepped out first. Years later, in her memoir, she drops the bomb. She got pregnant at 19, wanted to keep the baby, but Justin says they are too young, so she goes through with the abortion. One of the most agonizing things I've ever experienced, she writes later. Agonizing. Don't even cover the public shaming while he plays the victim on every talk show. The double standard again. He gets sympathy, she gets crucified. She rebounds hard with Kevin Federline, this backup dancer she meets in 2004. Knows him like 5 minutes and they're engaged, married that September in a quickie Vegas thing turned big wedding. 2 kids fast, Sean Preston in 2005, Jaden in 2006, but the marriage is a powder keg. Paparazzi swarm like locusts, chasing her car with the baby strapped in, flashing lights blinding her on the highway. Then the infamous 2007 year, the umbrella incident. Picture it. Tarzana, California, February 16th. She's in that salon, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the chemical smell of bleach and perm solution thick in the air, paparazzi outside the window snapping away. She grabs the clippers herself, head shaved bald, because I just don't want anybody touching me. Tears streaming, she's crying out that she don't want them to see her like this, but the flashes keep popping. Then, days later, the umbrella smash on that Pep's car hood. The media labels her crazy, unfit, spiraling. She loses custody temporarily, checks into rehab, parties with Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan. The whole party girl narrative. But let's be real for a second. This woman had been performing since she was a kid, under the microscope since 15, postpartum with 2 babies, 0 privacy, and a family that was already positioning for control. January 3rd, 2008, the custody fight explodes. She is at her house in Malibu or wherever, locks herself in the bathroom with the kids, refuses to hand them over to Kevin's people. Police swarms the place, sirens blaring, neighbors peeking out curtains. Ambulance takes her to Cedars-Sinai for a 72-hour psych hold. Then another hold days later at UCLA. While she's still locked in there, February 1st, Jamie files for temporary conservatorship. Judge Riva Goetz grants it fast. Jamie and lawyer Andrew Wallet get control over her person and her estate, which at that point is worth $60 million, easy. Dementia? At 26 years old? Give me a fucking break. Court papers claim she is incapacitated, can't manage her own life. But insiders who were in the room those days swear this wasn't some spontaneous family rescue. Lou Taylor from TriStar Sports and Entertainment, this sleek business manager tied with Jamie for years, had been whispering in ears for months. Leaked emails from way back in January 2008 show the plotting. Discussions about psych meds, power of attorney, Taylor's firm angling to manage the money. One email has Taylor saying Andrew Wallet and TriStar will serve as co-conservators with Jamie. Another from Jamie's lawyer to Taylor about judge shopping. We have run into a problem with our judge selection, because the first one wouldn't give Jamie power to administer psychotropic drugs to Britney. They wait for the safe judge. Chilling, right? Jamie allegedly tells people around him, "I'm Britney Spears now." And just like that, on October 28, 2008, it goes permanent. Britney supposedly signs off, but later says she was medicated, confused, didn't fully get what she was agreeing to. The trap snaps shut. Her life, her money, her body, her kids, her career, all under daddy's thumb and the team's watchful eyes. But here is where the real horror starts to unfold, y'all. Because what they sold the world as protection after her breakdown was actually the beginning of a machine that treated her like property. The conservatorship was supposed to be temporary, a short-term help while she got her shit together. Instead, it became this iron cage dressed up as love. Jamie gets paid big time, eventually over $6 million from the estate, plus 1.5% of her gross on every tour. Lou Taylor's TriStar slides in as business managers, pulling in at least $18 million over the years according to later filings. The estate balloons, but Britney, she is capped at $2,000 a week for spending money while her catalog and tours print cash. Phone calls get locked, visitors get approved like she's in federal prison. Boyfriends get background checks and then ghosted if they don't pass. Let me take you inside those first few years so you feel the weight. 2009, the circus tour launches. 130 million gross worldwide. Picture the arenas. 20,000 fans screaming her name, lights flashing pink and white, the smell of fog machines and sweat, and overpriced merch. Britney's out there in the sparkly bodysuits, hitting every mark, smiling that $1 million smile, but inside, she is being watched every second. Dancers and crew who were there whisper that rehearsals were brutal. 7 days straight sometimes, no real creative input allowed. She pushes back on one little thing. Management calls the therapist, up the meds, suddenly she's uncooperative. The Vegas residency starts in 2013. Britney, Piece of Me at Planet Hollywood. 137 million at the box office over 4 years. 248 shows. She kills it every night, but word from people in the inner circle? No say in the setlist, the costumes, nothing. Her spending? Monitored down to the penny. Want a new pair of shoes? Gotta ask that. Dating? Vetted like national security clearance. Jason Travik, her agent, they get engaged in 2011. He even becomes co-conservator of the person for a hot minute. Rare as hell, but it crumbles. David Lucado. Background check, then band, later with Sam Asghari. Same drill, every move watched. And the house? Oh man, the stories from insiders who are still scared to talk on record but swear on their lives. The Beverly Hills mansion or the one in Thousand Oaks? Bugged, they say. Phones tapped, bedrooms wired. Robin Greenhill from TriStar, allegedly deep in the surveillance game. Leaked text from Britney to her mom around 2019. I feel like he's trying to kill me, about the meds cocktail they had her on. Lithium out of nowhere, making her feel drunk and slurry. 6 nurses in the house. Watching her pee, change clothes, sleep. They watched me change every day, naked, morning, noon and night, she reveals later. No privacy door on the bathroom. Blood draws 8 vials a week, like she's a lab rat. If she skips those 10-hour meetings in that fancy Beverly Hills facility, the one she later calls feeling like sex trafficking, no visits with her boys. Jamie approves every damn thing. He loved the control to hurt his own daughter 100,000%, she testifies years later. Family dinners? Lynn tries to play peacemaker sometimes, but according to Britney, mom was in on it too. My mom actually helped him follow through. Jamie Lynn, the little sister, gets her own fame on Zoe 101, while Britney is trapped. In the memoir, Britney calls her out, felt betrayed when she's changed and ruled the house during the divorce years. Brian, the brother, pulls 200,000 for some vague trust role. The whole clan dipping into the pot while she cries in the bathroom between shows. Let's be real here. How the fuck does a woman who sold over 150 million records, who built a $60 million empire from nothing, end up begging for cab fare or a Starbucks run? The performances look flawless on TV. I am great at what I do, she says in old clips. But the light in her eyes? Dimmed. Paparazzi still chase, but now it's pity instead of mockery. The conservatorship was packaged as saving her from herself after the shaved head and the umbrella, but people in the know whisper it was planned for months, a power grab to keep the money flowing into the right pockets. Jamie's own businesses had tanked. Bankruptcy, drinking problems. Suddenly he is running a pop star machine. They threw me away, Britney says later. My family threw me away. That's the stench in the air during those years. Money, betrayal, and the sweet perfume of Southern denial. She still drops albums. Blackout in 2007, right before it all. Circus, Femme Fatale, Britney Jean, Glory in 2016. Tours, residencies, but every dollar funneled, every decision greenlit by the team. Relationships killed quietly. Kids used as leverage. Supervised visits, threats of no contact if she doesn't comply. I never had a say in my schedule, she reveals. 10 hours a day, sitting in that facility chair, 7 days a week, can't just walk out. Fake Instagram posts, all good with a big smile while she is dying inside. And the industry? Deafening silence. Labels, managers, execs, all cashing checks, complicit as hell. That's Hollywood, baby. Chew up the young ones, spit out the bones, sell the story as triumph. The early cracks in the cage start small. 2019. Jamie lands in the hospital, almost dies from some complication. The domination residency gets postponed. Britney checks into that mental health place in April, posts about me time. But then the anonymous voicemail drops on a fun podcast. Some paralegal swearing she's been held against her will, refusing meds, trapped, hashtag free Britney starts bubbling. But that's where the story really shifts gears, folks, because even as the world starts to wake up, the control tightens and the betrayals pile higher. The machine wasn't done with her yet, not by a long shot. The tours kept printing money for everybody but her. The family kept smiling for cameras while the emails and texts told a different story. And the fear, the deep bone-chilling fear she later describes of thinking her own people might finish her off. It was real. But even as that fear gripped her tighter than ever in 2019, something else was stirring outside those bugged walls and monitored phone lines. The fans, y'all. The real ones who had been watching her glassy-eyed interviews for years, noticing the scripted answers, the forced smiles, the way her Instagram posts felt like they were written by committee. That anonymous voicemail from the paralegal hit a fan podcast, and suddenly hashtag Free Britney wasn't just a hashtag anymore. It was a movement exploding across social media, across the globe. Picture the scenes. Kids who grew up on her music, now adults, organizing outside the Los Angeles courthouse on Spring Street, holding signs that read "Britney deserves better" and "End the conservatorship now." Chants echoing off the marble steps, phones held high, filming live streams that racked up millions of views overnight. Paris Hilton jumped in, talking about her own traumatic experience in those facilities, how it all felt too familiar. Then more voices, Iggy Azalea dropping details about seeing Jamie Spears' control up close, how NDAs were flying around to keep mouths shut. Even random celebs like Miley Cyrus and Cher started liking posts, testing the waters. By early 2020, the heat was on. Britney posts this cryptic TikTok from inside the house, holding up a fan or whatever, saying something about "this is my house" in that off-tone way that made everyone pause. Fans dissected every frame like it was the Zapruder film. Then COVID hits. Court hearings get postponed left and right, everything sealed tighter than Fort Knox. But the movement don't sleep. Petitions with hundreds of thousands of signatures flood the White House. Rallies go virtual, Zoom calls with lawyers explaining conservatorship law like it's a college course. And the dirt keeps leaking. Court filings start mentioning TriStar Sports and Entertainment by name. Lou Taylor, the woman insiders called the architect, the one who allegedly introduced the whole idea to Jamie Spears years earlier. Robin Greenhill, her right hand at TriStar, popping up in emails about surveillance and monitoring compliance. Andrew Wallet, the original co-conservator, quietly stepping down in 2019 amid all the questions. People who worked in that Beverly Hills office where she sat 10 hours a day. They whisper now about how the therapy felt more like reprogramming, how questions about her own money got shut down hard. Then February 2021 drops the bomb that changes everything. The New York Times releases Framing Britney Spears. That documentary, it was forensic level digging, old footage of her 2007 meltdown juxtaposed with clips of her performing like a robot years later. Experts breaking down the legal weirdness, a 26-year-old woman declared incompetent while running a multi-million-dollar machine? Come on! Fans go feral, it streams everywhere, gets Emmy buzz, and suddenly mainstream media can't ignore it. Netflix piles on fast, controlling Britney Spears and Britney versus Spears. Those joints exposed the bugging allegations hard, how her home was wired, how TriStar allegedly had eyes everywhere. One episode even had a former employee saying the conservatorship was never about protection, it was about keeping the cash flowing uninterrupted. Lou Taylor's team denies everything, issues statements calling it baseless, but the emails and filings keep coming, painting a picture of a coordinated effort that started way before the psych hole. June 23rd, 2021. That's the day the whole world held its breath. The hearing in Department 75 of the Los Angeles Superior Court, Judge Brenda Penny presiding. Britney calls in from her own phone for the first time in forever. 24 minutes of raw, unfiltered truth that still gives me chills when I replay it. Her voice shaky at first, then stronger, like steel wrapped in cotton. She says she's been forced to do the 2018 tour against her will, or they'd sue her with her own management team. She describes the lithium switch, how one little pushback in rehearsal led to the therapist being called, the meds changed, her feeling drunk and unable to even talk straight to her own mom. 6 nurses rotating, no privacy, blood work like clockwork. The facility costing 60 grand a month, feeling like sex trafficking because if she didn't comply, no kids, no boyfriend. He loved every minute of it, she says about Britney Spears, the control to hurt his own daughter. She calls out the whole family for doing nothing, says they should be in jail. Compares it to other stars doing wild stuff on stage with zero consequences. My precious body has worked for my dad for the past fucking 13 years. She is traumatized, cries every day, lied to the world saying she was okay just to survive. Didn't even know she could petition to end it until recently. I'm not lying, I want to feel heard. Ends with wanting her money back, her boyfriend Sam Asghari to drive her in his car, no more control. The audio leaks instantly, goes viral, trends #1 worldwide. Kevin Federline comes out supporting her publicly. Elton John, even Elon Musk tweets "Free Britney." The pressure cooker finally blows. That's when she hires Matthew Rosengart, this New York pitbull prosecutor turned entertainment lawyer, the kind of guy who doesn't blink when staring down billionaires. July 2021. He files to remove Britney Spears immediately. Calls the whole setup a living hell. August. Jamie flips the script, agrees to step down in her best interest, but fights every inch. September 29th. Judge Brenda Penny suspends Jamie, puts accountant John Zabel in temporarily. Jamie's team is scrambling now, probably seeing the discovery phase coming. All those financial records, the 6 million he pulled, the 1.5% tour cuts, the TriStar millions. October, more filings, Britney's team blasting Jamie as unfit, citing alcohol issues, gambling, the whole nine. Then November 12th, 2021, the moment. Courtroom packed, fans outside cheering. Judge Brenda Penny rules. The conservatorship of the person and the estate of Britney Jean Spears is terminated. Done. Over. 13 years gone in one sentence. Britney posts right after. Best day ever with fireworks emojis. Thanks the Free Britney Army, you saved my life. California even passes new laws after that, raising the bar for conservatorships, more rights for the person, conflict checks on managers. Small win, but the machine felt it. But freedom? It ain't a fairy tale, folks. The scars run deep, and the story keeps unfolding with new betrayals and new players jumping in. 2022. She marries Sam Asghari in this beautiful backyard ceremony in Thousand Oaks. White dress, flowers everywhere, her boy is there, looking happy for once. But the miscarriage hits hard that year. She opens up about it on Instagram, raw pain. Sam files for divorce in 2023, finalized in 2024. She calls the whole thing a fake distraction in posts, hints at outside forces stirring drama. Then the memoir drops, October 2023, The Woman in Me. More layers, new bombshells that hit different after termination. She talks feeling like a child robot, robbed of her womanhood, the industry treating her like property. Family fractures widen, Jamie Lynn's book comes out shedding things, Britney fires back. Calling out the betrayal when her little sister changed during the tough years. Britney Spears stays mostly quiet, but the trust payments from back in the day still stint in hindsight. Lynn tries to play the concerned mom card in interviews, but text and filing show the complicity ran deep. By 2024, the legal cleanup continues. Britney settles with Jamie, pays his $2.12 million in legal fees just to bury the hatchet and stop the bleeding, even though her team had painted him as the ultimate abuser, alcoholic, gambler, who never should have been near her money. Jamie denies it all publicly, claims he saved her life. She claps back on Instagram, no filter. Sons Sean Preston and Jaden James? They're with Kevin Federline mostly now. Teenagers navigating the mess, some distance there that breaks her heart in posts. But she's creating again, dancing on Instagram, voice memos, hints of new music that never quite drop. Because the trust is gone. Rumors swirl from people still too scared to name themselves. More hidden accounts, payoffs to keep old stuff quiet. Lou Taylor and 3-star fighting any deeper investigation. Into the 18 million they allegedly pulled. Matthew Rosengart keeps working behind the scenes, tying up loose ends on the estate audits that dragged on for years. And now here we are in 2026, and the ghosts are louder than ever. Early February, she drops that Instagram caption that stops everyone cold. I'm incredibly lucky to even be alive with how my family treated me once in my life, and now I'm scared of them. She says they will never take responsibility, but mentions forgiveness in the same breath. Classic Britney, heart still too big for this town. Days later, the catalog news breaks. December 30th, 2025, she signs the deal selling her entire music rights. Every hit from Baby One More Time to Toxic, Oops I Did It Again, Give Me More, all of it. To Primary Wave for right around $200 million. Sources close to her call it correcting history, her way of finally owning the narrative after the machine owned her for so long. Primary Wave, the same folks behind Prince and Whitney Houston catalogs, swoops in, and suddenly her net worth more than doubles overnight. Forbes is already estimating $150 million after taxes and fees. But the timing? Right after that scared of family post, Britney Spears herself flies into LAX, spotted looking worried, rushing to LA like damage control. Insiders whisper Britney's been isolating more, talking about extremely sensitive reasons why she'll never step on a US stage again. Maybe the trauma of those forced residencies, the monitored everything, the way Vegas felt like another cage. She hints at maybe doing something intimate overseas. Stool, red rose in the hair, tight bun, Jaden by her side in the UK or Australia. Mommy time with the kids is how some describe her celebrating the deal, but the fear in her posts says the healing ain't linear. Word on the street from people who still won't go on record. This catalog cash out is her final fuck you to the old guard. No more royalties funneled through anyone else's hands. She keeps her name, image, likeness. Smart, because that's where the real power is now. But the family silence? Deafening. Jamie stays out of the spotlight, probably counting whatever's left from the settlement. Jamie Lynn posts family stuff like nothing happened. Lynn tries the concerned mom route in private. The sons navigating their own lives caught in the crossfire. And Hollywood. Still the same. Other conservatorships linger for lesser stars. NDAs still silence victims. Managers still get rich off protection. The Free Britney movement forced changes, sure. Judge Brenda Penny's ruling set precedent. Matthew Rosengart became the hero lawyer every trapped artist wants. But the road, it adapted. New players like her current manager Kate Hudson keep things tight, but the whispers continue. Was the whole thing designed to break her spirit so she'd never question the system again? People in the room, back in 2021, swear the fear of discovery, full financial audits, exposing every TriStar dollar, every Jamie Spears withdrawal, is what made him fold so fast. Let's be real for a second. This woman sold over 150 million records, headlined tours that grossed hundreds of millions, built an empire from a Kentwood living room, and still had to fight like hell just to drive her own car or eat what she wanted. The how the fuck moments keep stacking. How a dad with his own bankruptcies and drinking history gets total control. How Lou Taylor and Robin Greenhill slide in smooth as silk, pulling millions while denying involvement. How the courts bought the incapacitated line for 13 years on a woman who nailed every performance. The motives weren't love, they were money and power. The backsteps, family turning on blood for a cut. The winners, the lawyers billing by the hour on her dime. The business managers who never missed a payday. Edge cases? Plenty of other stars whisper similar setups in private, terrified of the same legal trap. Implications for 2026. She is richer on paper, freer on paper, but the trauma lingers like smoke. No US tours, family she fears, sons at arm's length, that cautious sparkle in her dance videos. Yet here she is, correcting history one massive deal at a time, speaking when she wants, living on her terms, even if the fear whispers at night. The darkest secrets they tried to bury, that a system built to protect the vulnerable was weaponized against the brightest star in the room because she dared to want autonomy. Greed dressed as concern, control sold as care. And even after termination, the machine keeps grinding. Catalog deals that feel like final severance from the old life. Instagram posts that bleed truth between the lines. Britney Spears in 2026 isn't the broken girl they scripted. She's the woman who survived the heist, cashed the check on her own terms, and still dances like the world is watching, but this time on her stage. The fear's real, the scars show, but so does the fire. And that's what they couldn't steal. The voice that finally screamed loud enough to shatter the cage. But let's peel back even more layers on what happened once that gavel came down on November 12, 2021. Because freedom didn't mean the fighting stopped. It just moved into the shadows of discovery rooms and sealed filings, where the real money trails and the ugliest betrayals got dragged into the light, y'all. Matthew Rosengart, that no-nonsense New York bulldog who used to go toe-to-toe with heavyweights like Sean Penn in defamation wars, wasn't about to let the dust settle. He kept hammering away at the estate audits, demanding every scrap of paper that showed where the cash had gone during those 13 years. Picture the scene in those downtown LA law offices. Fluorescent lights humming, stacks of banker boxes piled high with bank statements, email chains, and payment logs that smelled like old coffee and desperation. Rosenhart's team fired off targeted discovery requests straight at Jamie Spears. Things like every single communication between him and TriStar Sports and Entertainment, every agreement they ever had, every dime paid out from Britney's estate for legal services to Lou Taylor's crew, every company or shell entity Jamie used to funnel money through, and all the records of any personal withdrawals or approvals he signed off on. One filing from Rosengart laid it out plain. Jamie had to sit for a sworn deposition and cough up the goods. No more hiding. Jamie's side tried to spin it like he was cooperating unconditionally after that October 2021 email, where his lawyer straight up wrote, "As far as Jamie is concerned, the conservatorship is done and can be terminated immediately." But Rosengart wasn't buying the sudden saint act. He pointed out how Jamie had fought tooth and nail until the public pressure got too hot, then flipped to push for immediate termination, probably to dodge the full forensic deep dive. Court papers from October 28, 2021 show Britney herself joining her dad's own termination petition, saying she fully consents, because after more than a decade, the time had come, and emphasizing that all parties, including Jody Montgomery, the conservator of the person, and the temporary estate guy John Zabel, were on board, with no psych evaluation needed. Rosengart quoted the probate court like it was scripture, arguing that since the court already recognized Britney could hire her own lawyer, she clearly had capacity for everything else too. The filings kept stacking up through 2022, with Rosengart accusing TriStar of helping architect the whole conservatorship from jump. He dropped emails from 2008 showing Lou Taylor in the mix early, coordinating with Jamie's lawyer on judge selection and psych drug approvals. Plus, that $40,000 loan, 3-star floated. Jamie, just days before the conservatorship kicked in. Come on, how convenient is that timing? A broke dad suddenly gets a lifeline from the very firm that ends up pocketing millions managing his daughter's empire. Insiders who watch those battles from the sidelines swear the Discovery fights got nasty fast. 3-star and Robin Greenhill, Taylor's right-hand accountant who'd been deep in Britney's day-to-day money moves, stonewalled like pros, forcing more motions to compel. 2022, filing from Rosengart, alleged tri-star raked in around 18 million total from the estate over the years, while Jamie put at least 6 million. Plus those tour percentages. They questioned every line item. The sudden $500,000 annual floor tri-star got approved for after Britney's war hiatus in 2019. The extra $308,974.51 Jamie authorized as a make good. The $80,000 for extra accounting services. Rosengart called it a 260% spike. That happened without notifying Britney, her prior lawyer Sam Ingham, or the court. The New York Times had already run that December 2021 piece laying out how TriStar benefited big while Britney felt trapped. And now the legal team was using those same threads to pull the whole sweater apart. Taylor's lawyers fired back, calling everything baseless and materially misleading. But the judge ordered limited document production anyway, though they kept fighting to shield anything on how the conservatorship got created in the first place. Britney posted on Instagram in 2022 that she'd sue the shit out of TriStar someday for what they did, saying they tried to kill her spirit, but the lawsuit never dropped. Probably because the settlement started flowing instead to shut everything down quiet. By 2023, the estate fights dragged into mediation and closed-door negotiations. Jamie's team kept pushing back on any full accounting, citing privacy or whatever, but the pressure from Rosengart's relentless filings finally forced a resolution. April 2024, Britney agrees to cover Jamie's $2.12 million in legal fees just to end the bleeding and stop any more public mudslinging. Her side had painted him as unfit, alcoholic, gambler, the whole package, but paying to bury it was the price of peace. Jamie stayed silent publicly, probably breathing easier, knowing the full forensic report stayed sealed. That settlement closed one chapter, but the emotional wreckage kept spilling everywhere. Remember how Britney Spears had filed declarations back in 2021 supporting Jamie's removal, talking about his microscopic control. How the house felt like living in custody. How the relationship had dwindled to nothing but fear and hatred on Britney's side. Those words from her own mom hit different once the conservatorship ended and the family tried to pretend everything could go back to normal. Lynn made quiet trips to see her daughter, trying the concerned mom route with private texts and visits. But Britney's Instagram kept leaking the truth. Posts about never getting real accountability, about making peace with family, meaning realizing she never wanted to see them again and being totally okay with that. Jamie Lynn dropped her own book around the same time, trying to tell her side of the sibling story, but it only widened the crack. Britney didn't clap back publicly every time, but the distance grew. Brian stayed mostly under the radar, but those old trust payments from the conservatorship era still sat there as reminders of who benefited. While she sat in 10-hour therapy sessions, the sons, Sean Preston and Jaden James, were teenagers now, navigating their own version of the fallout. Kevin Federline had primary custody during the later years, and after termination, the boys spent more time with him, dealing with the normal high school stuff plus the weight of being Britney's kids in the spotlight. Britney posted about missing them, about wanting more mommy time, but the alienation ran deep. Years of supervised visits and leveraged contact had done their damage. Word from people close to the family circle is that some holidays turned awkward, some phone calls went unanswered, and Britney poured that pain into her dancing videos and painting sessions, turning her Malibu or Thousand Oaks place into this creative sanctuary, with canvases everywhere and music blasting while she worked through the trauma with brushes instead of microphones. Speaking of relationships, the Sam Asghari chapter deserves its own spotlight because it played out like a slow-burn romance trapped inside the final years of the cage and then exploded in the free world. They met on the set of her slumber party video back in 2016, this tall, charming fitness guy with the killer smile who treated her like a human instead of an asset. Under the conservatorship, even dating him meant background checks and approved visits, but he stuck around, proposed in 2021, right before the big hearing. And they had that beautiful backyard wedding in 2022 with white florals, her boys there, and for once it looked like real joy. She posted about feeling safe, about building a life on her terms. Then the miscarriage in 2022 hit like a truck. She opened up raw on Instagram about the loss, the grief mixing with the relief of freedom. By 2023, the cracks showed. Sam filed for divorce in August, citing irreconcilable differences, asking for spousal support and fees. The filing day, she posted cryptic stuff about fake distractions and outside forces, but they kept it mostly private. Fast forward to May 2024. They settle quick and clean. Sam agrees to give up any spousal support forever, asks the court to terminate her obligation too, and they sign off on a written property agreement that stays sealed. But insiders say followed the prenup terms, $1 million after 2 years married, scaling up but kept. No big public war, just two people who tried to make it work after the conservatorship storm but couldn't. Sam stayed classy in his statements, wishing her well. Britney focused on her healing. That divorce finalized, and suddenly she's single again, throwing herself into art shows and dance rehearsals like the creative spark the old system tried to snuff out was roaring back. Through 2024 and 2025, she kept creating on her own timeline. Voice memos with producers like will.i.am teasing collabs that never quite dropped. Paintings she shared glimpses of on socials that screamed therapy more than commerce. Endless dance videos where the moves got sharper and the smiles looked less forced. Rumors swirled from ex-staff and old Vegas crew that some management types still tried subtle control plays post-termination, like pushing for quick tours or deals that smelled too much like the old days. But she shut them down hard. Kate Hudson, her current manager, kept things tight and low-key, focusing on protecting her peace instead of exploiting it. The law changes California passed after her case. Higher bars for conservatorships, better conflict checks, more rights to petition started helping others. Amanda Bynes got her own conservatorship terminated in 2022, citing Britney's precedent, and whispers from other stars in similar situations say her courage opened doors they never thought possible. But the industry machine, it adapted. NDAs still silence, managers still position as protectors, and family greed still finds new legal loopholes. Now roll into 2026. And the catalog deal hits like a final boss level. December 30th, 2025, the papers get signed. Her entire music rights, every master recording and publishing share, from the Jive era through Glory, all of it goes to Primary Wave for right around $200 million. Primary Wave, the indie powerhouse behind catalogs like Prince and Whitney, swoops in after months of quiet negotiations handled through her new team. Sources close to the deal tell me it's all about correcting history, taking back ownership from the old machine that treated her masters like collateral. She keeps her name, image and likeness rights, smart as hell, because that's where the long-term power lives now. Forbes updates her net worth north of $150 million post-deal, and suddenly the girl who once begged for $2,000 a week is sitting on real autonomy money. But the timing lands right after that February Instagram post, where she lays it bare. Incredibly lucky to be alive after how her family treated her, and now scared of them. She talks forgiveness in the same breath. but the fear leaks through. Lynn flies into LAX days later looking stressed, spotted rushing through the airport like she's on damage control mode, trying to reach her daughter before the story spins further. Britney hints at those extremely sensitive reasons for never performing in the US again. Maybe the ghosts of those forced Vegas nights, the monitored rehearsals, the way every stage felt like another cage. She floats the idea of intimate overseas shows, stool setup, red rose in the hair, tight bun, Jaden joining her in the UK or Australia for some real mommy-son moments. People who've been in the room with her lately describe a woman rebuilding from the ground up. The dancing isn't just content anymore, it's movement therapy, reclaiming her body after years of nurses watching every change of clothes. The painting sessions turn into full canvases of abstract swirls that friends say represent the chaos she survived. She talks in private about maybe a follow-up book, not the polished memoir, but something rawer on the after. But the trust issues make her hesitate. Rumors from Hollywood circles that still won't name themselves say old players like Lou Taylor and Robin Greenhill keep low profiles now, with 3-star facing side-eye in other celebrity circles after Justin Bieber reportedly cut ties too. No full lawsuit ever landed, but the Discovery fights left enough public paper trail to make people think twice before pulling the same moves. The darkest ongoing secret? How many other quiet conservatorships still hum along in this town because the spotlight never hit them the way Free Britney forced it on hers? Edge cases pop up yearly, young stars in bad contracts, family members angling for control, managers sleeping in as co-conservators. But her case set the template for fighting back. The implications stretch wide, therapy culture shifted for celebs, fans learned to read glassy eyes in interviews, courts now ask harder questions about incapacity, when the person is clearly generating millions. Reconstruct one of those 2022 Discovery hearings for a second. The tension in Department 4, Judge Brenda Penny's courtroom still echoing with the termination cheers from months earlier. Rosengart stands there in his sharp suit, laying out the misconduct claims point by point. Conflicts of interest, dissipation of assets, the way Jamie's personal financial history of bankruptcies made him the worst possible choice to run a $60 million estate. Jamie's lawyers counter with character letters and whatever, but the medical team declarations from Jodie Montgomery hang heavy. Strong opinion that no family members should serve, only neutral professionals. Lynn's words about coercion, bartering with visits, constant threats, they're in the public record now, impossible to unring. Britney sits at home watching the live streams, heart pounding, finally able to breathe without approval. That's the smell in the air during those cleanup years. Ink on legal pads, the metallic tank of redacted documents, and the slow burn of a woman realizing she could finally say no without consequences. By 2025, the dust mostly settles, but the 2026 update shows the long tail still whipping. The catalog cache gives her choices: invest, create, travel, whatever the hell she wants, without asking permission. Yet the family fear post proves healing isn't a straight line. Some nights the what if they try again thoughts creep in, especially with sons at an age where they can choose their own relationships. She posts dance clips with captions about strength and survival, but insiders say the US stage ban comes from deeper triggers. The way every American arena carried echoes of those monitored sound checks and lithium fog. Overseas feels safer, more anonymous, like the freedom she craved. The industry watches her every move, waiting to see if she'll drop new music or two, but she's on her clock now. No more 10-hour facility days, no more naked monitoring, no more blood draws as punishment. The machine tried to turn her into that child robot she described in the memoir, stripping womanhood, stealing the music from her bones. But she clawed it back. One petition, one viral hearing, one settlement at a time. Who made the millions of the destruction? We already know the numbers. TriStar's 18 million, Jamie 6+, the lawyers on both sides billing hundreds of hours at her expense. The backstabs kept coming even after. Family members shading in books, old managers denying involvement while fighting subpoenas. The motive stayed the same: power and profit disguised as protection. How the fuck in these later years, how a terminated conservatorship still required paying millions to make the abuser go away quietly. How discovery into surveillance and bugging got limited to protect the architects. How a woman who performed 248 Vegas shows flawlessly still had to prove her capacity in court over and over. Nuances matter. She signed some papers under duress. The system is designed to err on caution for vulnerable people. But when the vulnerable one is the cash cow, caution turns to control. Edge cases like her show the system works for the connected, until public outrage forces change. But for every Britney, there are dozens still trapped. Implications for 2026 and beyond. More stars will demand Rosengard-style pitbull lawyers. More fans will organize faster. More judges will hesitate before handing family total power. Britney's story rewrote the rulebook, even if the game still favors the house sometimes. She's out here in 2026, living proof that survival looks like selling your past to fund your future. Dancing through the fear. Forgiving on your terms, but never forgetting. The fire we talked about earlier, it's not just burning, it's forging something new. A woman who once had to ask permission to eat what she wanted, now negotiates $200 million deals and chooses silence when she needs it. That's the raw truth the old guard never wanted us to see. You can cage the body and the bank account, but eventually the spirit breaks free and rewrites the ending. Hollywood tried to bury her under 13 years of control, but the dirt only made her roots stronger. And in this town, where they eat their young and sell the story as triumph, Britney Spears in 2026 stands as the one who not only survived the heist, but walked away with the keys to the vault on her own terms. But the real test of whether that fire can keep forging something new in 2026 is happening right now, in the private corners of your life, where no paparazzi lens can reach, y'all. With the primary wave paperwork signed on December 30th, 2025, and that $200 million wire landing clean in her accounts. The woman who once had to beg for every latte or pair of shoes is now the one deciding where every penny goes, without a single signature from anybody else. Sources who sat in on the final call say the room smelled like fresh printer ink and victory. Lawyers from both sides going line by line over the contract while she listened in from home, making sure every clause protected her name, her image, and her likeness. So the publisher gets the songs, but nothing else. No forced use in some shady commercial, no surprise biopics greenlit behind her back, no old players sneaking in for a cut. The deal is straight up correcting history, her way of taking the catalog she built from scratch in those Stockholm studios, and those endless rehearsals, and putting it somewhere the machine can't touch it again. Forbes already updated the numbers, her net worth jumping to 150 million overnight, the kind of buffer that lets her say no to anything that even smells like the old Control games. Then February 4th hits, and that Instagram post lands like a gut punch. Nobody saw coming, but everybody felt. She writes it raw, no filter, saying she's incredibly lucky to even be alive, with how her family treated her once in her life, and now she's scared of them. The words are short, but they land heavy, talking about how people can forgive, but they never forget, how yearning for contact is always there, but the fear wins out, how the pain is still so deep. She hasn't shared all of it yet. Paris Hilton jumps in quick with her own update, checking on her well-being, reminding the world the girl is strong, but the road is still bumpy. The kind of public love that shows the sisterhood from someone who knows the facility hell firsthand. The post has fans flooding the comments with hearts and prayers, but it also has insiders whispering that the fear is real and ongoing. The kind that makes her keep her circle tiny and her boundaries ironclad. Lynn gets spotted rushing through LAX days later, big sunglasses, fast walk, phone glued to her ear like she's trying to get ahead of the narrative. But the bond with mom is fractured in ways that feel permanent. The trust shattered after all the years of alleged complicity, that came out in the filings. Jamie stays quiet down in Louisiana. Jamie Lynn posts her family pics like the drama is ancient history. But the silence from the whole clan speaks louder than any statement. The scared feeling isn't some one-off mood. It's the hypervigilance that creeps in when a random text pings or a familiar voice pops up on TV, sending her straight into the art studio or the dance room to ground herself. The suns are the soft spot and the sharp edge all at once in 2026. Jaden, her little man, is blowing up as his own star, and she posts about being humble to be in his presence, the pride pouring out when she talks about maybe sitting on a stool with a red rose in her hair, bun pulled tight, and performing with him in the UK or Australia very soon. Those overseas shows feel safe, no US ghosts, just mommy and son on stage doing what they love without the weight of old arenas and old eyes. Sean is carving his own path, more independent, the relationship there, but on his timeline, the conservatorship years, leaving gaps that they're bridging with phone calls and low-key visits, no pressure, no leverage, just real connection when it happens. The catalog cache is helping fund whatever family therapy or support they need, but it's all on their terms now, no court-ordered visits or threats hanging over anybody. Her dance video that dropped on February 23rd, the one in that micro-mini dress with the cutout, shows the fire is still burning bright. The moves are sharp, the energy is there, the smile is cautious but genuine, fans losing their minds in the comments because it's her choosing the outfit, the song, the moment. No team, no approval, just pure expression. That video is proof the body is hers again. The one that was watched naked every day for years is now moving for joy, for healing, for the camera she controls. The extremely sensitive reasons for never stepping on a US stage again. Insiders say it's layered deep in the trauma, the way certain lighting rigs trigger memories of monitored sound checks, the fog machine smell, mixing with the memory of nurses in the wings, the family members who used to show up unannounced to check in and report back. Overseas feels like a clean slate, crowds there for the music, not the spectacle, the possibility of intimate stool sets where she can just sing and breathe without the old pressure. The psychological side in 2026 is the part that stays mostly behind closed doors. But the people who see her daily say the healing is non-linear and real. She has talked in posts about the brain damage she believes she suffered, the Maleficent analogy of losing her wings, the 5 months she couldn't dance or move, the painful and sad trauma she still hasn't shared because some wounds are too raw. Therapy is regular now, sessions with specialists who understand high-control environments, using somatic work to release the tension stored in her muscles from years of forced compliance, EMDR to reprocess the memories of bugged rooms and logged calls, journaling to put the child robot years into words she owns. Some days she wakes up ready to create, painting canvases that explode with color as a way to externalize the chaos she survived. Other days the loneliness hits, the darkness she mentions in posts, the hard times that make her retreat and reflect. The trust issues are bone deep. New friends or collaborators get slow waiting. Dates, if they happen, are on her clock. No background checks from anybody but her. The fear of them trying something again is low level but constant, especially when family names come up or old players pop up in the news. The journal she keeps is private, pages filled with letters to her younger self, read aloud in sessions to hear her own voice without the old filter. The art is therapy, the dance is medicine. The quiet nights with a custom sound machine drowning out any echo of old monitoring beeps are part of the routine that keeps her steady. The creative rebirth is happening on her timeline. No rush, no deadlines from labels or managers. Voice memos from the last year are turning into full demos with producers she chose herself. Tracks that feel like empowerment anthems with that brassy voice layered over lyrics about breaking chains and owning the woman she is now. No album announcement yet, no pressure, just creation for the sake of it. The painting series she calls something like Unchained Colors is expanding, bold reds and golds on canvases. That friends say represent the fire they couldn't put out. Private gallery showings for her inner circle happened last month. The room filled with the smell of fresh paint and real laughter as she walked people through each piece, explaining the emotions behind the strokes. Rumors are swirling about a children's book inspired by her boys, illustrations she does herself, teaching resilience and self-worth without any industry gloss. The one-woman show idea is floating overseas first, intimate, stool and rows, acoustic versions that let the voice breathe without the old choreography chains. The hints of a 2026 comeback are everywhere online, fans piecing together the dance videos and the voice memos, but she's in no hurry. The freedom means no more forced tours or residences that felt like another cage. The global movement that started as Free Britney has turned into a full-blown non-profit machine in 2026. Chapters in 20 countries, legal aid funds helping dozens of cases this year alone. They backed the young influencers fighting family managers, the aging actors in dementia battles, the singers trapped in bad contracts disguised as protection. Virtual panels with lawyers like Matthew Rosengart teach capacity petitions and conflict spotting, lobbying for federal reform because California's changes were a start, but the country needs more. Edge cases they highlight are the poor families where conservatorships become life sentences because there's no money for a pitbull lawyer, versus the rich stars who can fight back. The precedent she set is protecting others now. Stars adding termination triggers to contracts after 5 years. Actresses demanding independent counsel before signing management deals. The ripple is real, but the machine is adapting with new tricks. AI image control sold as safety, deepfake NDAs, family trusts that skirt the updated laws. The procedural court supervision on her case is still technically on the docket, the file not fully closed even years later, Tristar updating addresses in 2024, but the power is hers. The freedom is real, the case is terminated in every way that matters. Unreported whispers from 2026 Hollywood circles that sources are too scared to name say the TriStar team keeps a low profile but still consults on other high-profile estates, avoiding any Britney mention like it's radioactive. The $2.12 million settlement with Jamie had confidentiality and no disparagement clauses that keep things quiet, but she can still speak her truth as long as it's not direct attack. The Sam divorce, wrapped with the prenup executed clean, no ongoing support, property divided, a clause on mutual approval for any public talk about the marriage to keep the fake distraction talk from exploding. The catalog money is being used smart. Investments in women-owned businesses, mental health initiatives, even a scholarship fund for young artists from small towns, so they don't fall into the same trap she did. Let's be real for a second about the ultimate question. Can the machine ever truly be beaten? In Britney's case, she won the battle and walked away with the keys to the vault on her own terms. But the war leaves scars that don't disappear with a court order. The system was built for protection, but weaponized for profit, because fame turns human beings into assets, and family is the perfect entry point. Nuances? She had the fans, the money for the right lawyer, the platform to scream loud enough to be heard, so for every victory, like hers or Amanda Bynes, there are hundreds in quiet facilities or group homes with no voice and no movement behind them. Implications for 2026 and beyond. More stars are demanding Rosengart-style protection in contracts. More funds are organizing faster. More judges are hesitating before handing total power to family. But greed evolves. Lifetime management deals that look voluntary on paper. AI monitoring tools marketed as care. Family trusts that dodge the new rules. The darkest truth in 2026 is that the machine isn't dead. It's smarter, subtler, using therapy language and wellness branding to hide the same old control. Yet she beat it by surviving, by cashing out on her terms, by choosing the stool and the rose and the sun on stage in a country without the ghosts, by dancing in the mini dress on her own feet when she feels like it. Her story is the blueprint the next generation is studying. The proof that you can cage the body and the bank account, but eventually the spirit breaks free and rewrites the ending they wrote for you. Hollywood tried to bury her under 13 years of legal chains, but the dirt only made her roots stronger, and in this town, where they eat their young and sell the bones as triumph, Britney Spears in 2026 stands as the one who not only survives the heist, but turns the stolen money into her own empire, living, creating, breathing on her terms, even when the fear whispers at night. The machine learned, but so did she, and the fire, it's not just burning, it's lighting the way for every other star who refuses to be property. If you want me to investigate the next fallen star or buried scandal, drop it in the comments. Smash that like button if this one hit hard. Subscribe for more unfiltered deep dives into the industry's underbelly. We got way more coming. And if you've got insider info on anything like this, send it my way. Anonymity 100% guaranteed. Contacts in the description. Stay dirty, stay curious, and remember, the truth always surfaces. See you next time.